All right, happy Tuesday from wherever you are watching this from. I am here at home with my younger daughter Zoe, who you'll probably hear at some point in this video. And for obvious reasons, with her being here right beside me, when I think about what stands out to me about the story we're reading today, it's the image of the parents before the religious leaders in Jerusalem. We can easily put ourselves in their shoes. This is a pretty serious situation that they found themselves in. They're called to give account on behalf of their son, the formerly blind man. And what they're facing, John makes it clear, is very serious consequences. If they go against the religious leaders, they could face excommunication, which we know culturally in Jesus' time was really one of three different levels of excommunication. It could be anything from a temporary ban on being able to participate in religious and social life, all the way to being removed from the community that they're in. There's an air also in this story of the fact that they could face their very livelihoods are at stake to some extent. And so it's a very real fear that they're facing when they come before the religious leaders on behalf of their child. And how they respond in the midst of that fear is what I think is worth paying attention to. The spotlight is on them, and when asked to give account on their son or behalf of their son, these parents say essentially, yeah, that's our kid. Yeah, he was blind, but we don't know how it happened. We have no idea. Go ask him. He's of age. Think about this for a second. Their son faces the exact same potential consequences for going up against the Pharisees as these parents do, right? And so in some sense, it's like these parents throw their own child to the wolves in order to get themselves out of the spotlight. They feel the heat. They don't want to feel the heat anymore. So they're willing to say, you know what, go ask our son. Don't question us about it. He's old enough, go deal with him. And I just think that's stunning for a parent to essentially, in some respect, sacrifice their child in order to get themselves out of trouble, or at least get themselves out of the focus of this investigation. They don't want to be involved, because if they're involved and they say the wrong thing, they're going to face social ramifications, religious ramifications potentially. I mean, this is no small thing. The fear is very real. And I think this really does say something about human nature. When we experience fear, we react in really unpredictable and intense ways. And this is nothing new. It goes all the way back to the story in the garden. When God comes to Adam and says, what have you done in Genesis 3? What does he do? He points to Eve. Oh, it's her. Go ask her. And when Eve faces the same question, what does she do? She points to the snake. It's his fault. Go ask him. I think there's something telling to that. And I don't think anything has changed in the thousands and thousands of years since either of these stories. When we are put in uncomfortable situations, in situations where there's conflict, in situations where we are afraid to lose something, whether it be something as big as our livelihoods, or even something as small as relatively small, as social shaming or being looked down upon, we react in crazy ways. These parents are willing to throw their own child to the wolves, in essence. And I just wonder, it's worth spending a few moments to think about, how do you respond when you are afraid? What do you do when you're scared? At work, do you shift the blame to a coworker? Oh, it's their fault. The mistake was made. Or do you justify your actions? I wouldn't have done this, but this happened. I think that's just what we do. But it's worth noting that later in this same story, another son is going to be faced with similar questioning from the religious leaders. He's going to have to give an account for all the things that he said and done. But this time, Jesus, the son, instead of responding out of fear, which we know he has from the garden stories, we know that Jesus isn't going into this situation without fear. But instead of giving into that fear and shifting blame or trying to put someone else in the spotlight to get himself out of trouble, Jesus stands for the truth. He stands for what he knows to be right. He doesn't give into fear, and he faces whatever consequences that means. He's willing to take any punishment. He doesn't care what people think about him. He doesn't care that the religious leaders look down on him. He doesn't care about the social implications or the cultural implications of his actions. He doesn't give in to fear. And I think this is worth looking at in our own lives when we are in situations that make us uncomfortable, when we are experiencing fear of loss or failure or fear that whatever we're doing or saying or standing up for the right thing will put us at odds with the people around us or bring consequences we don't want down upon us. How do we respond? And I think we can take a page from not just Jesus, but really even the blind man himself, the formerly blind man. He stands before these same religious leaders, and instead of giving in to fear, instead of changing his story or making it more palatable for the religious leaders, he just gives the facts. Whatever the consequences, it doesn't matter. This is what happened to me. This is what I believe about it. That just sticks out to me today. And I hope it gives you some peace that even when we face challenging circumstances, we don't have to react out of fear. We don't have to let fear drive us. Instead, we can stand on the truth and have confidence that if that's what Jesus was willing to do, then I think he will be with us in the same circumstances. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow.